Hello, everyone. I hope you are having a good day or night. My name is Chenge, and I warmly welcome you to a new perspective podcast that talks about gender based violence. Today, we are going to talk about gender based violence in the LGBTQI plus community. To do that, we have a guest with us, Tiffany.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Can you introduce our audience to the term intersectional discrimination?
I was invited today to talk about gender discrimination from a slightly particular perspective, one that brings together different aspects of my identity and my work. I am a homosexual woman, and at the same time, I experience my gender identity in a fluid way. Biologically, I am a woman, but sometimes I feel more feminine and sometimes more masculine. It changes over time and from day to day. This means I experience moment of gender euphoria and moment of dysphoria. I start here because when we talk about discrimination, it's important to remember that it never concerns just one part of us, but the intersection of everything we are. And that is exactly what we mean by intersectional discrimination.
Can you share an example that explains the barriers these victims face in their daily lives?
There is an episode, unfortunately a very clear one, that made me understand how much this intersection affects my life, and I believe the lives of many others. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a nightclub with the woman who was my partner at that at that nah, uh, scusami. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was in a nightclub with the woman who was my partner at that time. We were dancing, sometimes kissing. At one point, I noticed a man staring at us. It made me uneasy, but I tried to stay in that beautiful moment with her. Eventually, this man approached us and, in a very invasive way, grabbed our heads to force a kiss between us. In that moment, I felt a very strong discomfort for two reasons. I felt weak as a person, saved as a woman, and sexualized for expressing my lesbian identity, as if my relationship was a game, as if my orientation was something to consume and turn into a show. It's a very direct example of what happens when sexism and homophobia don't simply add up, but uh, intertwine, creating a ever and more complex burden.
And what about your professional experience? Do you think that there is hope for the future to overcome these challenges?
My professional life, fortunately, the situation is different. I work in a primary school. I feel traditionally considered very feminine. Unfortunately, I had, because I don't believe any job should be associated with only one gender. In my experience, both as a student and as a teacher, I've met no more than 4 or 5 male teachers. In this environment, I don't feel a direct discrimination against women, but some preconceptions still persist. The idea of the female teacher are made emphatic and patient, or that male teachers have more authority. Fortunately, the teacher staff is quite diverse, and there is a room for different ideas and approaches. Sometimes they ask me if I am a man or a woman because I have very masculine style. When I was a child, you wouldn't have dare ask a question like that. It was automatically assumed that teacher were women and external expert were men. When a child asks me today, I answer honestly. Biologically, I am a woman. I don't mind if you perceive me differently. It's part of who I am. You can call me maestra or maestro. The important thing is listening to how a person defines themselves. If someone tells you they are a boy or a girl, that identity should be respected. And from there, I always take the opportunity to remind them that respect for identity starts with listening. If someone tells you they are a man or a woman, use gender, even if it doesn't match what you visually expected. I try to do this naturally and clearly, and I hope each time to do it was well as possible. For years, I struggled to talk about this because I feared that any education about gender respect could be used against me, feeding misinformation about so-called gender ideology. But this is not about ideology. It's about consent, respect, and preventing discrimination. And here comes a more delicate part. In school, unfortunately, there is very little training in these topics. Very often, we rely on intuition and common sense. Being part of the queer community and working in education, I try to train myself. Events, books, discussions, but there are still very few training made at teachers on gender discrimination and emotional education. And despite this, we are expected to prevent discrimination and bullying. That becomes difficult when there is no specific training. When educational time is reduced because academic performance is considered more urgent, and when some topics remain taboo due to fears from parents or um, school person. What is simple and natural for children is sometimes not simple at all for adults. And yet, it is work worth doing. I sometimes make a mistake too. Maybe I call a girl Cara out of distraction or fatigue. And I'm proud when she corrects me. In that moment, I apologize, correct myself, and show through the example how important words are. This applies to all contexts. I would like to end with an episode that shows how much potential children have. One day, a boy had lost his pants, and as a temporary solution, we gave him a pair with a flower on the leg, then considered feminine. He looked at them for a moment. They said, then said, it doesn't matter if they look a bit like a girl's pants. What matters is that I can use them. Classmates support him, even saying they were nice. One child was about to make fun of him, but the group spontaneously stopped him. They told him very clearly that he shouldn't make fun of him. To me, this says a lot. When I was a child, the boundaries between boys' things and girls' things were rigid and absolute. and they become fertile ground for bullying. Today, I see more openness and more freedom. And this is thanks both to parents and guardians who are changing their approach and to teachers who take the risk of setting aside a bit of academic time to work on essential educational topics. And naturally, uh, national guidelines clearly remind us that schools must raise students with social skills, mutual respect, and critical things.
Thank you so much for listening, and a special thanks to our guest Tiffany for helping us dive deeper into this important issue. To our listeners, we sincerely hope you enjoyed learning about the LGBTQI community and its connection to gender based violence. In our next episode, we will uncover the reality of sexual violence and harassment, what distinguishes them, why victims often stay silent, and how we can support a friend or family member who opens up about their experience. Join us as we break down what makes these approaches truly effective. Take care and goodbye.